This is the weekend edition of Fear and Greed, Australia's most popular business podcast. I'm Michael Thompson, and good morning, Sean Aylmer.
Good morning, Michael.
Sean, our weekend show is all about the two of us each nominating what we think is the biggest story of the week, the most remarkable story, the sleeper story, and then our favourite story. Of course, I think we probably agree maybe once every 6 weeks or so. So we have to bring in an independent adjudicator to help decide some winners in each category. And so our Fear and Greed colleague, Adam Lang, is roped into it once again. Adam, good morning.
Good morning, Michael. Good morning, Sean.
Good morning, Adam. Now, I've got to tell you, Michael, last week you were away over the weekend. We were generous enough to give you some time off, about 24 hours. So Adam, not only did he compete, he was judge as well.
And it seems like a massive conflict of interest there.
It does, but no, it works for you. So if you ever find that it's you and Adam's such a nice bloke. He never wants to give himself the win. So I won last week. I think it was 3-1. It might have been 4-0. I'm not sure.
3-1, Sean. An excruciating 3-1 to you.
Because Adam's too nice to actually go for his own stories. Genius work by me, if you don't mind me saying so.
I think you won fairly, much to my disappointment.
There you go.
That is very well played, Sean. And we actually got a review on Apple Podcasts through the week. And this came from Abe. And Abe said, "The Saturday edition is on my must-listen list. Fantastic snapshot of the week just gone, and I love the light-hearted banter. Keep it up." I thought, how good is that from Abe?
Love Abe.
Thank you, Abe, yeah.
And I'm trying not to be offended by the fact that was posted on Monday after the weekend when I wasn't part of the show on the weekend.
Interesting.
So you know what? We'll take it. Thanks, Abe. And if anyone else wants to leave us a review on Apple Podcasts or any platform, they are gratefully received. Absolutely. But let's jump into the contest this week, because I feel like I've been saving up some good stories now because I'm back. I'm pumped up. I'm primed for it. But I'm going to let you go first, Sean. What was the biggest story this week?
Oh, actually, you've just given me a 1-0 win, because I think you're going to agree with me. There has really only been one story this week. I'm actually happy to go half a point here, because if it's not interest rates in Australia, in the US, what's happening in Europe, then Adam is a poor judge, shall we say.
Yes, Sledge the judge on the way through. Good work.
You're starting from behind now.
Yep.
Look, the Reserve Bank lifted interest rates in Australia for the first time since 2010. The US Fed lifted rates by 50 basis points this week. That's the biggest increment in more than 22 years. The equity markets rallied as a result and then just got hammered. They fell hard, at least the international markets fell hard, after the Bank of England came out and said rising energy prices and the war in Ukraine had led to a material deterioration in the economic outlook. Incredible moves in markets this week on the back of central banks lifting interest rates to try and keep a cap on inflation. By the end of the week, markets were broadly lower. Our home mortgages were broadly higher. Now, the big fear is that we end up lifting interest rates so high that economies like the US, Europe, UK, Australia end up in recession. They call that a hard landing. The opposite is a soft landing, where somehow the central banks can maneuver the economies so that things slow down, inflation comes back into control, and we all don't go backwards. Locally, massive consequences for the election, particularly around the whole cost of living debate. Easily the biggest story of the week, because interest rates rising for the first time in 12 years, it's probably the biggest story of the year, to be honest. And Michael, I'm happy to go half a point on this.
Yeah, look, I will actually accept that half a point, because I realise I made a very grave error allowing you to go first. Because if I had, I would have gone interest rates.
Yes.
And I would not have shared the point with you. I'm sorry. I'll declare that now. But I'll just give a little shout out to the election campaign, because it's still a big story throughout the week. It's all been about China and the Solomon Islands. We had Anthony Albanese stumbling over NDIS policy and fronting up to a business audience. We had debates over the economy, debates over defence. But the big one for the Prime Minister has been responding to the interest rate decision, defending the government's economic record. So, yeah, absolutely. You win this one, but I will accept that half point very, very gratefully. Thank you, Sean.
No, there'll be no half points. Sean, it's a categoric win to you on that one. The election campaign, is interesting and ongoing, but this has been spectacular. Interest rates going up internationally, equities up and down. What a roller coaster. And then ahead of us, what will be inevitably both of them around the world, hard and soft landings in different economies. I think it is huge.
Thank you, Adam. Oh, I'm liking you more and more at the moment.
I had forgotten that Adam was there momentarily.
Be made redundant.
Suddenly, we were just ready to split the points between us, and then you just chimed in with a decisive victory for Sean. So that's fine. We'll move on to most remarkable. I will go first on this one because for me, the most remarkable story this week is actually a combination of a few stories. So I'm doing what we refer to as a Sean Aylmer, where you bunch a few together in the hope that combining more will make it a winner. It's all about the recovery in the travel sector because a few big stories this week about that. First, Qantas said it will be profitable again next financial year. Great news. People are flying again, it appears, post-COVID. Qantas is also talking about direct flights from the east coast of Australia to London, to New York, to all kinds of places all over the world. From about 2025, they've ordered new aircraft to do it, new Airbus A350-1000s to do it, a stack more aircraft as well for the domestic fleet. And speaking of Airbus as well, the aircraft maker says it's increasing production of its A320s. They've got more orders coming in. Earnings are higher than expected. Then you toss in as well the news from Airbnb this week. They've upgraded their revenue forecasts. International bookings in the US are exceeding pre-COVID levels. The Northern Hemisphere is heading into summer and there is plenty of demand. You put it all together, all those elements together, Qantas, Airbus, Airbnb, travel's coming back. And I just think that is remarkable because 2 years ago, it was pretty much wiped out.
Yes, I think that is pretty remarkable. I'll give you that, but I think I've got a better one.
Go on.
The most remarkable story this week, and again, it will be one of the most remarkable stories of the year, is the US Supreme Court's draft decision which overturns Roe v. Wade, which was established back in 1973. Abortion has been legal in all US states for nearly 50 years. But with Donald Trump's appointment of Amy Barrett Cohen to the Supreme Court in the final days of his presidency, the bias of the court is towards conservative judges. In this latest case, the draft majority report written by Justice Samuel Alito says the Wade decision was egregiously wrong from the start and must be overruled. Now, we have to wait and see what the final position is, but certainly this has triggered an outcry, not just in the US, but globally. In fact, Joe Biden, the president, jumped in. He warned that the decision would decimate privacy principles in the US and put in question a bunch of things, including same-sex marriage. Absolutely remarkable that in 2022, the world's greatest economy is having this ridiculous debate over women's rights. I suppose I'm becoming a little political here, and perhaps I shouldn't do that, Michael. But the idea of overturning abortion rights in 2022, to me, is astounding, truly remarkable.
Yeah, I'd agree with you on that one. What do you think, Adam?
Okay, this is conflicted because both are remarkable. I'm going to give it to you, Michael, on this one because of the impact on business. But just to Sean's point, if this had been made a decision and wasn't a leak of a draft decision, I think even politics or business aside, that would have to win because I think the leak is interesting. Could it be a strategic leak of this draft decision? And if it was to become a decision, a formal decision, that will be absolutely remarkable. But in terms of business, just the recovery, I'm so heartened by it and at how many billions, not just millions and hundreds of millions, but billions of dollars will be recovering and businesses recovering from this. It is such a good sign. So, Michael, travel, planes, Airbuses, Airbnb back to pre-COVID, Qantas, I think that is the most remarkable story of the week, the recovery.
All righty, we'll be back in a moment with the sleeper story of the week. All right, now, Sean, we're looking for the sleeper story of the week. So this is the story that's either not getting the attention that it deserves or is going to become a bigger issue further down the track. We are 1-1 at the moment, so what have you got?
Look, this is going to be one of the biggest issues over the next couple of years. Brussels, the European Union, is concerned about Apple preventing competitors from accessing tap-and-go chips or near-field communication. Now, EU regulators say Apple is inhibiting access to benefit its own Apple Pay system and is holding an inquiry into it. This is a really familiar complaint in Australia, with banks making similar claims that Apple restricts third-party access to key technology that's necessary to develop rival mobile wallet solutions on Apple devices. We all use Apple Pay mostly because other organisations can't get their technology onto Apple iPhones. If the EU is successful, Apple will be pressured to open the technology globally, and that opens up the payment systems substantially. This is a real game changer and could force Apple to totally change its business model and open up to, let's say the Commonwealth Bank, for example, to allow its tap and go processors on an Apple iPhone. Really, really big decision to be made by the European Union regulators.
Oh, that is a good one. This is why I don't like letting you go first, because you come up with these really good stories. Fortunately, I have a better one.
Good.
The sleeper story for me this week is all about China, but it's just about how big the flow-on effects of the COVID zero policy there will be for the rest of the world. And the reason that it's become such a big issue this week as a sleeper story is because we heard new figures this week about the Chinese economy. The manufacturing and services sectors have fallen to their lowest activity levels in more than 2 years, right back kind of from the beginning of the pandemic. It's a sleeper because if we think supply chain issues have been bad up to now, they could be about to get much, much, much worse. Major delays of manufactured goods now expected right around the globe. According to CNN, there are at least 27 Chinese cities under full or partial lockdown, with the government there trying to maintain a COVID zero policy while the rest of the world is opening up. The Chinese economy is going to be hit very hard. And really, so will the rest of the world, relying on the output of Chinese factories. And really, the size of that impact is the sleeper story here, because we've seen these figures coming out of it. We know that China's trying to cling on to this COVID zero policy, but just brace yourself for the impact. Adam.
This is so tough. I know Apple Pay has been the source of discussions here in Australia as well, and it's actually interesting in technology how Australia's sometimes leading the world in terms of its inquiries into these realms. So the EU regulatory inquiry is very big and where it might go. In terms of what is happening right now and COVID zero in China and its impact, it will already be happening. And I think were it not for other stories, this would have been getting far greater reportage. So I'm going to give this one to Michael by a nose.
Oh, now hold on. I'm putting that in this story has been around for months if you're following the business news, guys. How can it be this week?
And it is getting worse.
Yeah, the only reason it was a sleeper story this week is because some of those figures that came out this week may not have gotten the attention.
Have you been following the data in China for the last 2 or 3 months?
Well, yes, but as you said, Sean, the biggest story this week has been interest rates. And so that it swept everything else under the rug a little bit. And so I just lifted up that rug and pulled out the biggest story that's under there. And right now, that's China.
So, Sean,
I'm still dirty on the Roe v. Wade one. I'm still going back to that one.
So let's say this. Should you wish for an inquiry into the judging, as I did last week, I'll be happy to judge myself and all complaints that you lodge.
No. Can we get Jennifer Duke back? Thanks.
I like Adam. I'm on board with Adam here. I'm an Adam fan. I'm in the Adam Lang fan club. Look, let's roll on with our favourite story.
You go favourite. You've been complaining about me going first, Michael, so go for it. What's your favourite?
A quick one for me because I know we're running out of time. I love all stories about Berkshire Hathaway and Warren Buffett, because what is not to love, Adam, about the world's greatest investor? Berkshire Hathaway held its annual meeting in Omaha, Nebraska about a week ago. It's the first since 2019 because of COVID, but what a meeting. Between Warren Buffett, age 91, and Charlie Munger, age 98, they got stuck into the excesses of Wall Street. They attacked crypto. They talked about the fact that they've spent more than $50 billion buying stocks. And Sean, I know you've met Warren Buffett before, but Adam, if you'd like the chance to have lunch with him next month, He is holding his final ever lunch auction. He does it for charity. The winner and 7 friends dine with Mr. Buffett at a New York restaurant. Bids start at a pretty affordable $25,000. But the last one did then sell for $4.5 million US. So maybe get your bid in early. But look, Adam, I know that you love Fear and Greed, the name of the podcast. So remember, Warren Buffett was the person who said we simply attempt to be fearful when others are greedy and to be greedy only when others are fearful. You know you love this story. Vote 1, Warren Buffett. Sean?
Not a bad pitch.
Oh, come on. Take points off for sucking up.
No, add points on. I demand sucking up points.
Come on, Sean.
My favourite story of the week is the story that just keeps giving. It's the inquiry in New South Wales into whether the Star Group is fit to hold a gaming licence. It is a journalist's friend. It just doesn't stop. I mean, it was a bit the same during the Royal Commission into Crown Resorts, to be honest. This week it was Matt Beckier week. He's the former CEO of the Star who was forced to step down. Mr. Beckier said the company's broader business had a very good culture, but the VIP business was a dark art with a dated subculture that led to many problems at the group. He also said that disguising almost $1 billion in gambling transactions on debit cards was a sharp practice and not right. Really? Who would have thought? He also said he felt let down by the company's chief legal and risk officer, chief casino officer, and general counsel. Mr. Beckier said he made the wrong decision to allow a high roller to gamble at the Star Casino, even though he was warned that the high roller was reportedly under investigation by the federal police for money laundering. And he talked about a senior Star manager allegedly misappropriating funds from the casino group, including one $13.3 million payment from Junket Group Sun City. Now, the Macau-based employee told the Junket Group to transfer the money to his personal account, and then he disappeared. There's plenty more, but you get the gist.
I do. And again, awfully hard to judge this one because Fear and Greed came up with Berkshire Hathaway, and geez, doesn't that encourage all three of us? But Sean, I've got to give it to you on this one.
Now, I hope this isn't a sympathy vote because I'm cranky about the previous two.
It is.
No, but it does kind of quarrel with the title of favourite because there is nothing good about this Star inquiry. It is a shocker.
But there's lots good when you're a journalist. Who wants good news? It's all about bad news.
But doesn't it mean, though, really, in terms of the breadth of impact on business, Berkshire Hathaway warning away from the fear and the greed, wouldn't that be our favourite?
Do you know when he said that? Do you know when he said we simply attempt to be fearful when others are greedy and to be greedy only when others are fearful? What's it this week, Michael?
Look, we don't...
Some time ago, I think.
Look, that's a relevant detail.
Oh, yes, of course it is.
No, Sean wins on this one for the Star inquiry.
In other news, I've also just submitted my resignation from the Adam Lang fan club. I'm no longer a member of the club.
I'll put it with the others, Michael.
Did you file that before I put mine in or not? Which one's on top?
Oh, I've been inundated this week.
Bring back Jennifer Duke. That's what we all say now. All right.
It's 2-2, gentlemen. And if I could, Sean, I think you'd even agree that Michael coming up with the name and Aylmer for misappropriating a collection of stories as one is a good caution for us all.
We are appropriating a collection of stories, not misappropriating a collection of stories.
Look, it sounds like you two aren't getting along. I'm just going to claim the victory. And we'll just move on.
No, it's 2-2.
Why don't we do what we did last time and have the tiebreaker? You asked a music question, which Michael then Googled and got, and therefore he won.
Okay. All right, you ready? No Googling, Michael. Hands off the keyboard.
No.
What is this lyric from?
No, not going to do it.
And
sorry.
These children that you spit on as they try...
You're just trying to show off your musical knowledge here, Adam.
Okay.
Michael's going to Google it no matter what.
I'm not. I'm an honest person. I have no idea what that's from.
David Bowie changes.
And I just think it's outrageous that you're talking about spitting on children.
So, Adam, really, you're losing points this week.
Yeah. I think the winner...
This is a thankless task.
The winner, it's a joint winner, Michael and I, and a far-flung third, Adamski.
Oh, well, Sean, congratulations on your joint victory with me.
Yeah, well done, Michael. Excellent work.
All right, wonderful. Thank you, Adam.
Oh, really? Well, no, thank you.
And thank you very much, Sean.
I'm enjoying this show much more. Thank you very much, Michael.
Just a reminder as well about our weekly podcast called Safe Word by Fear and Greed. It's kind of similar to where the end of this podcast ended up, where we have a bit of a lighter look at some of the business news around the place. It lives on its own now outside the main Fear and Greed playlist. So you need to search for it on your podcast platform. It comes out every Thursday. So just search for Safe Word by Fear and Greed on Apple Podcasts or on Spotify or wherever you listen to podcasts, and hit follow so that you get it every week. Thank you very much for your company. I'm Michael Thompson. Have a great weekend.